I'm here with Lucy and Lemaire for the second time on this podcast. She's a writer and performer of sweet songs. Hi, Lucy. How are you doing?
I'm doing so good. Thank you so much for having me. It's
Yeah,
nice to be back.
awesome. How's? Oh, I do wish to begin by wishing you a happy International Women's Day. So,
Thank you. Thank you so much.
yeah,
It's a great holiday.
technically it was yesterday in my time zone, but I understand it's today. But
Yeah, it's still going over here.
how's your day been so far?
It's been good. It was a very busy day. The weather's been up and down here in LA, so it feels like summer and then it starts raining and just a bit of a weird week. Um, but other than that, going pretty good. I would say world affairs aren't going so well, so of course that's always looming overhead, but uh, overall pretty good.
Awesome. Yeah, what's the weather like over there in LA? I haven't been.
You haven't been to Los Angeles yet?
Nope.
Okay, you got to come visit. I'll give you a tour. I'm a very good tour guide.
Awesome.
I actually had a job as a tour guide
Mhm.
when I got here. Um, yeah, it's been nice. Today was more like 70s, so like a nice, cool, warm atmosphere. But then it was like almost 90 last week, so it was just so hot and miserable. And then between then and now, it rained. So
Let's see.
it's just been weird. Yeah, it's been weird. Climate change is going strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the weather over in Hanoi is humid for the past week, but it's been getting
Mhm.
sunny. So that's pretty good.
Oh, good.
I cannot stand the humidity, or if it's a combination between the humidity and the heat,
Yeah.
it's unbearable for me.
Oh, that is hard. Yeah. The humidity, because you're so close to the equator, right?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah.
So yeah, the last time we had a chat on this show, it was I checked, it was November of 2020.
Oh, wow.
So right now it's March of 2022. So it's been almost a year and a half since we last chat, and I presume that lots of things have happened since then. And one of the things we can notice right now is your new hair. So
Oh, yeah.
congratulations on that.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, I recently just decided to cut it all off.
Mhm.
And as the hairdresser was doing it, I told her, I was like, it feels like you're cutting off the pandemic because my hair's
Sure.
grown pretty much from my shoulders down to my waist during lockdown.
Mhm.
And as she was cutting it off, I was like, wow, that was just like, that was that was the last year and a half. So it actually felt very freeing and just very, very good. Like it felt like a really good change.
Oh yeah. I mean, I
Yeah.
did get rid of some of my pre-pandemic clothing, like t-shirts and shorts and underpants and stuff. But
Oh yeah.
uh, it's one
That's
way
a
to
good
do it.
way to do it too. Oh,
One way to do it.
definitely.
Yeah.
I definitely like cleaned out my apartment a couple times and now it feels like it's back to full clutter amount, but I did like Marie Kondo it twice during the lockdown and
Awesome.
somehow it's still busy, but
Mhm. Yeah. What else has been going on since we last met on this show? I mean, I understand we've met a few times afterwards. One of the changes is that you've set up your Patreon page where you've had these monthly concerts, some of which I've attended, which are
yes, it's
really
been so
nice.
nice to have you at the concerts.
Mhm.
It's been a lot of fun. I really enjoy Patreon and I put it off for so long
Yeah.
and I really only finally did it because I wasn't able to tour and I wasn't able to play live shows where I normally see a lot of my fans who have become my friends over the years.
Mhm.
And this is a really great way that I can see them at least once a month and I play a live concert so I get to share music. I also have a reason to practice playing music. A
Sure.
lot of people assume I play music all the time, but really I do need like a show or a performance to motivate me to really rehearse and practice. And so that's been something that's really nice about Patreon too, is that I know I have an audience and that I need to do a good job.
Yeah.
So it's been nice to have that monthly concert.
It's a pretty intimate setting, and if you do have a song that you wish to release, then you surely have a test audience for that.
Definitely. But it's also hard because the group right now, it's like the nicest fans I've got. Honestly, like everyone's so supportive and like we all just know each other so well because we've been meeting monthly. And I feel like if I played a song and they didn't like it, I don't know if they could say it to my face. But maybe if I did like an anonymous feedback form or something, they'd be able to.
Fair
I don't
enough.
know.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of which,
We'll see.
in preparation for our chat, I've been listening to some of your songs, past and latest. I really like that song where it begins with "Heaven is the place between your neck and your shoulders," and
Mhm.
yeah. Do you recall writing and composing that particular piece?
Yes. So it's kind of a funny story. So I had a very strong fear of cats,
Hmm.
and my friend had agreed to cat sitting, and I was with them, and they had to run out to the store for something, and so it was just me and the cat, and I was very uncomfortable and terrified of this cat. So I kind of just locked myself in a room while the cat was at the door meowing.
Hmm.
Um, and I had the ukulele in there, and I was just sitting and playing ukulele because I was very scared of cats. I should clarify. I
Okay.
was very uncomfortable.
Hmm.
So I was just sitting and playing ukulele. And my friend had told me that if you pet a cat in between like their head and their shoulder, that's like where they love to be pet.
Oh
And
yeah.
so I turned that advice into that first lyric,
Hmm.
heaven is the place between your neck and shoulder, which is just kind of like where you would like rest your head on a partner or something. Just like that cozy place.
Oh
And
yeah.
that's how the song started.
Mhm.
So that's just a funny little antidote. And then the rest of the song is actually more about it turned out being a song about my grandparents because my grandma had just lost my grandpa and I was with them when he passed, and just watching that kind of relationship, like the end of such a strong and important relationship, was so difficult for me at that age. And just kind of watching my grandma go through the steps of like grief and shock and anger, and it was very difficult. So that song was kind of a, you can tell by the production, it was more of like a lullaby, like a self-calming storytelling song. But that's where it came from a cat and
Hmm.
from my grandpa.
Well, that's good to know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I think I remember my grandfather passing away about 7 years ago at this point. I think it was 2015. My grandmother passed away long before I was born. I think it was 2 years before I was born, so I never got to see her. But
Hmm.
did got to see my grandfather. But at the time, his health was in decline. He suffered a stroke when I was an infant. So, but my parents, especially my dad, who he remembers him pretty well. I mean, he remembers him when he was healthy. So there's that.
Hmm.
Mm, so it's funny because COVID comes in like 2020, which is an election year for you guys. I wonder what do you think is more stressful?
COVID or elections?
Yeah, yeah, I know.
That's a very good point. Um, Honestly, COVID is something that was happening to everyone. And so at the beginning, it felt very universal. And then as the elections came and went, it became a very divided health issue.
Oh yeah.
And it was politicized in our country to the extent that, a lot of people were dying that definitely had misinformation
Oh
due
yeah.
to the political campaign. So that's a tough one because I would say they are such different things, and one is like a fact, like one is just like COVID is a thing that's happening to everyone, and then
Mhm.
with politics, it was just so it was very very frustrating.
Of course. Yeah.
Both equally bad, but I will say on the day that the election happened and Trump was out of office, all of Los Angeles was in the streets. There were cars parading around, just honking, and literally just dancing in the street,
Mhm.
all down Sunset Boulevard. And yeah, it was definitely definitely part of that.
Of course, I do think that COVID-19, at least in the States, would have been a lot more, a lot better handled if the president was more popular and more trusted. I mean, there was a faction that really liked the guy, but the rest of us, we either
Yeah.
feel totally not into him at all, or I mean, there are some of us who are indifferent, but there were two camps of people who really liked him and people who really didn't like him, and that is,
Yeah.
I've been an observer of American politics for some time, and I've never seen such a phenomenon. You know,
Yeah, it's scary. It's very scary. And I feel like now people are so desensitized because while Trump was president,
Mhm.
every day was a different headline of like shocking news, shocking news. You won't believe what happened or what they said or what they did. And it just became so much that so many people just kind of they
Mhm.
either started taking all social media as their news source, and that's just what they took in, um, or they just stopped watching
Oh yeah,
entirely. Which I definitely did that for a while, where I just had to not not watch the news, not
yeah.
hear what he had done that day.
No, I think
It was
it's
too hard.
it's a mark of insanity to know whatever's in the news every
Hmm.
day. I mean, I think that's a quote from Michael Oakeshott, who's a great political philosopher.
Yeah,
But
that's a good
nevertheless,
one.
nevertheless, we haven't made it through COVID yet, but we have made through Donald J. Trump. So
Yeah,
congratulations.
but we can do anything. Yeah, it's something.
Yeah. Um, so I believe one of the drawbacks amongst many of COVID is at least for the performers out there is that they do not get to perform anymore. What was your reaction when you first found out that that was the case?
I was I was okay at the beginning. So in 2020, I was more than okay taking a break from touring because I had just gotten back from Australia and the
Oh wow.
Philippines. And I had 2 months before that, I was in the UK doing a radio tour. So I was a little tired of traveling. I got a little sick on the road in Australia too. And I was just
Oh,
kind of exhausted and managing myself as an artist. So it was a lot. And I was ready to be home and make a record. And then with the lockdown, uh, I didn't have a way to make that record because I couldn't go into the studio with other musicians or with the producer. So I just ended up writing quite a bit.
mhm.
Um, but now that things are opening up and a lot of bands are playing shows and touring, I am starting to get a little more excited and definitely starting to think about what it could mean for
Yeah,
future concerts.
right. I understand that you teased out a live performance that you're going to do. So would you mind telling us about it?
Yes,
Okay.
depending on when this podcast airs.
Presume
um,
in a few days. So
okay, so I can't say, I mean, I can kind of say it. So in April, early April, I'll be performing at the Rose Bowl for the Rose Festival, which is
right.
a really fun event
Hmm.
that has not been announced yet. So you'll see it in later this month, most likely.
Yeah.
But that'll be a really fun time. Uh, and then I'll also be doing one of the summer festivals here in Los Angeles, which is the Eat, See, Hear movie series. It's really fun. It's like an uh, outdoor area. We're doing it at Griffith Park, and they show a movie on a giant screen, and everyone brings a
Wow.
picnic, and then a band performs before the movie. It's fun.
Mhm.
I've done it before, and it's just a nice summertime event.
Oh yeah. I mean, LA is most well known for its outdoors.
Definitely. Yeah, so I'm hoping to see more festivals, not just kind of music tagged on to other events,
Mhm.
which is what I see a lot of. And it'd be nice to just have a full on music festival in Los Angeles. So hopefully that'll be coming up.
Fingers crossed. Speaking of concerts, you've you've shared that you've seen a Casey Musgraves concert. I
Yes.
Yeah. I think before entering into this conversation, I listened to some of her latest album, and it was phenomenal.
You enjoyed it?
Oh yeah,
Which
I think
her
the album is called Starcross, right?
yes. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that is her most recent. Golden Hour is the one that really brought her to like the top 40 music scene, and kind of helped her break out of her alternative indie world because it's been so hard to get her music on the radio as a female kind of country artist
Hmm.
because she's also very liberal and very open about it.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to get her on the radio. But with the Golden Hour album, she won the Grammy Album of the Year and kind of reached so many new people. And then she went more pop. So this last record,
Hmm.
she really took it to a different genre. And she even had pop artists like King Princess and Muna opening for her when I saw
Wow.
her a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a very different because I've seen her a few times and it's always been very roots. Like she's got her full band with the upright bass and the slide guitar and a banjo, very country. And this show is very different. So it's a whole new band and just whole new set design. There were lasers, which you would never expect at a Casey Musgraves concert.
Wow.
It was pretty cool.
Awesome.
Definitely different, but very cool.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you like it. I mean, was there a huge crowd where you were?
Yes, I was at Staples Center, which has been renamed Crypto.com
Okay.
Center, which is terrible.
Yeah.
But that's just what it is. And it was sold out. So it was a bit stressful to be around that many people again. And it really made me think like, oh, wow, this is like her 20th show doing this. That's so many
Wow.
people to be around. But at the same time, I think if anything, it's probably a lot safer to be the artist on the stage, uh, you know, kind of far back from everyone, as opposed to being in the audience every night.
Yeah. So I growing up in Hanoi, Vietnam means that I don't get to see a lot of current artists, at least in the Americo Anglo pop scene, doing shows here. So they don't
Oh
tend to
yeah.
set Hanoi as their destination for their world
Uh,
tour. I mean, there's that joke, right? When a band announces their world tour, it means that it's North America and Europe and maybe Australia and maybe
oh man.
if they have time, Japan. So there's that.
Mhm.
Um, but I wonder what, aside from the Musgraves concert, what is your most memorable live performance experience?
That's a
Seeing
great
a live
question.
concert.
That's a great question. I used to see this band called Bad Religion all
Oh
the
yeah.
time when I was in high school.
Hmm.
And I definitely don't still listen to Bad Religion the way I did then, which was like every day on full blast in an angsty mood. Um, but they were a band that could really just inspire you because they had so much energy on stage. And of course, they're in like the pop punk
Hmm.
kind of world, more punk than pop, but just really empowering lyrics, very political, very in your face. And that was more like my first concert experiences ever. And so I would say they're the most memorable because it really got me out of my timid personality. So I would be more quiet in school and then I would get to go see these concerts on the weekends.
Hmm.
And it was so much fun. And I think that really helped me open up and be more open to playing music too, because I was still pretty shy in high school.
Awesome. Yeah. So when I was in school in Canada, which I mean, those 4 years were pretty much over now. Uh, my school was in close proximity to Toronto, so I took advantage of that. And
That's a good music scene.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
And my town has a pretty good music scene too, Peterborough. I got to talk to many pretty alternative indie experimental acts in that town,
Mm-hmm.
and I know a guy who would he would know all about the history of the art, the Peterborough music scene, and how some of the bigger artists of Canada would actually either start there or have a strange storytelling worthy encounter there. So he's quite phenomenal.
Awesome. Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. I got to see this act, Mount Erie. I don't know. I don't know if I've told you about it. He's an indie folk artist who writes
Mount Erie.
really, yeah, writes really sad songs. And I
Okay.
actually met the guy, Phil Elbrum, and he signed a copy of a vinyl album for me, which was
Oh, that's
highlight of
awesome.
my life. I thought about that yesterday.
Mhm.
Um, but did actually, I did actually was I I was scheduled to see Elton John actually, but then COVID hit. It was actually on March of
Oh, you're
2020.
kidding.
Yeah, it was part of his farewell tour.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Farewell part is rather dubious, but it's a tour nonetheless.
Yes.
Mhm.
Oh man, I'm so sorry. That would have been really good. I know he's doing it again now,
Mhm.
of course.
Yeah.
But also I think he's done a couple farewell tours, I
Oh yeah.
think. So I feel like he will never stop performing live. I actually just finished his book. It's called Me, his autobiography.
Yeah.
Really good. Yeah, if you're looking for
Oh,
a
awesome.
good read.
Yeah,
Yeah, very funny storytelling.
I have that, but I kept the book in storage among my many things when I
Oh yeah.
went back home. But
Hmm.
I do look forward to reading it. I really like the film Rocket Man. I mean
Yeah.
the music, musical numbers really did it for me. I mean,
So good. Yeah, that intro scene, just when, he's a kid and it's like on a cul-de-sac,
mhm,
that first
right.
scene, really
The bitch is
amazing.
back. The bitch
Yes,
is
that one's really good.
back.
Yeah, that whole movie. I gotta watch it again. I've already watched it 3 or 4 times, but I really enjoyed it. I just really love Elton John's storytelling,
Yeah,
and he's such a different writer than, I mean, he doesn't write the songs, he writes the
Bernie.
music.
Oh yeah.
Bernie writes the songs. Um, Such a different style of storytelling than my music, but I just really there's so many good memories associated with this music because I've heard it just throughout my whole life. Like it's so familiar, and it's just such a feel good track. All of them.
Yeah. What's an example? What's a good memory you can share that's associated with an Elton John
Oh
piece of music?
man, probably like my parents dancing in the kitchen to some Elton John.
Wow.
They're both really big fans. They've seen him. They saw him during his Vegas residency.
Oh wow.
And oh yeah. And then I remember just being a kid and my mom's friend took us to see Moulin Rouge
Ooh.
and we were too young for it. We were definitely too young for it. But we were obsessed with it and we loved it so much. And we didn't know that Your Song was an Elton John song, but we were singing it all the time. And then I didn't even realize till maybe later in high school that that was an Elton John song.
Yeah, you can never be old enough for Moulin Rouge, I think.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Uh,
What's your favorite Elton John song, or maybe favorite memory with this music?
um, it's either your song or Daniel, depending on my mood.
Yeah.
Sometimes I like a Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting, especially
Hmm.
when it's Saturday night.
Yeah, great song for Saturday night.
What do you think is the most challenging song that you have written and performed? Even the ones you haven't
Oh,
performed.
that's so good. Well, I still haven't performed better than I was before live with a band,
Mhm.
and I'm really interested to see how that goes because it was much more of a disco dance track than
Yeah.
all my other music, which is more folk or rock. Um, Rebel Babe is a lot of fun to play live, but can be challenging because
Mhm.
there's so many parts that are sung over each other and it's just me normally
Oh yeah.
singing. So definitely need some backup singers for the next tour.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And what was the one you found easiest to write? Like you just had the song in your head and it's just a matter of putting it down onto paper, something like
Oh
that.
gosh, most of them, that's how they kind of come to be. So, Honey, Put Your Weapons Down, I wrote
Hmm.
just in like one fell swoop, like so quick. Um, and Oak Tree was written in about 20 minutes because I had to perform at this like open mic. It was like my first performance as me. Um, and I was so nervous, and I had to play two songs, and I had only written one song. And so I wrote Oak Tree, and I tried to make it like, I was like, what would people want to hear? Like a happy song. And I looked up happy songs, and I looked up what chords they were. And of course, they were all like C, F, G.
Mhm.
It's like, okay, I'll write something to that.
Well,
And that one was really quick. Yeah, I
so
feel like the best songs are written very quickly. It's when you have to like sit with a song and you go back to it when you're in a different headspace and you're trying to rewrite things and you're picking it apart. For me, those are not my best songs. Like they'll be okay, but I also feel like my emotional attachment to them is not as strong as the songs that when I'm like in it and I just write it out and just sing it out and it just like, it just comes out of you. Those are usually the better ones.
yeah, I imagine it's basically unadulterated, creativity,
Hmm.
self-expression and such.
Yeah, no edits. Yeah.
Uh, I'm not so whenever I see, I don't know, I'm sure that the Rolling Stones is still around, and I imagine whenever they have to perform, was it Satisfaction or Painted Black, maybe for the 500th time, they probably got really sick of it. And I
Sure, yeah.
wonder, I wonder if it's the same to you, like a song that you've wrote and you really enjoyed writing and you've enjoyed performing it for the first and second time, but by the, you know, 57th time, you start to feel some reservations towards it. Is there an examples like that for you?
Honestly, not yet.
Mm,
Not yet. Because I think the songs that I play every time, like I do switch them out. So for a while it was always Oak Tree because everybody loved that song and I knew that would make everybody kind of dance along.
hmm
And then it's been I Feel Better Now. I play that one almost at every live show because it's, people can sing along to it easy and they can feel better when they hear it. I don't know, it's just one of the songs that kind of grabs them.
hmm
And so for me, it's not so much like, I gotta play this song that they want to hear. It's more like, oh, I know they're gonna be really happy when they hear this song, and that makes me happy. So
That's nice.
that's how I look at it. But maybe ask me in 20 years and I'll let you know.
I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just as I was asking you that question, I thought about Fleetwood Mac. Rumors is one of my favorite albums of all time.
Yeah.
Stevie Nicks and Christine McVie, they are
So
just
good.
top tier, brilliant singer-songwriters.
Hmm.
And of course, we all know now that the album was composed when everyone in that band
Yeah.
was hating
Was a
each other,
mess.
and they were like hitting
Definitely.
each other and on drugs all the time. And I wonder, I mean, they had to. The album became a hit, and I
Oh
think it was
yeah.
kind of a curse for them because they had to perform these songs
Definitely.
about how they hated and cheated on each other all the time.
It sounded terrible. Yeah. But how kind of them to give us such a great album out of all of their pain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I mean, they're still playing those songs. I saw them a few years ago with my mom, actually, on a reunion farewell tour, and it was so good.
Was it all five
Good.
of them?
No, no, it was not.
hmm
I don't know if they're all still friends.
I think the latest I've heard from them is that Lindsey Buckingham went his own way to quote one of their
Yes,
songs.
he's doing solo. I actually auditioned for his music video
Oh,
a
really?
few months ago. I did not get it. That's but I will tell you, I did audition.
Well, well,
It was very random. Yeah.
yeah. Tell me about that audition process. What was the specified role?
Well, here's the thing. I'm not an actor, but I enjoy kind of doing more of like the background stuff. Uh, and I'm in LA, so it's kind of a great opportunity. So I was just, looking around, seeing what was available, and submitted for one and got the audition. And it was for a relationship
hmm
that was not stable. And the woman was supposed to be like really fed up and just done with this guy
Mhm.
and just like super angry and kind of driving out, like slamming the door, leaving in the car and just fuming. And that was the audition. And I did my best. I think I looked kind of mad. It's hard for me to look super angry. I have to
Yeah,
work on it, but it was fun.
I do remember watching one of your music videos. What was that one where you filmed it in black and white, where you wore
Oh
super?
yeah, yeah. That also took a lot of work. So that was the first music video I had directed,
Oh, yeah.
and in one of the scenes, that was for Tainted Love. In one of the
Yeah.
scenes, I rip off all my clothes and I start yelling at my therapist. And I'm throwing a pillow around, and there's feathers going everywhere. So right before the scene started, I totally panicked. I was like, "Oh my god, why did I write this scene? I don't know how to like scream and yell on camera." And so I like started kind of trying, and luckily my good friend Tristan Scott Barons, who is a phenomenal actor and was very kind enough to be in my music video, he was like, "No, no, you really got to yell," because I was kind of like lip syncing. I was
Oh.
just like pretending to scream. And he's like, "No, no, no, you got to really do it for it to like come across." And I was like, "Oh my God." I'm like such a reserved person that it was very difficult for me to even just like pretend to be angry. But the message that I wanted to get across in the music video was very important. It was about clothing not being consent. So even if someone wears a very, something very sensual or skimpy, that is in no way giving their consent. Um, so I just stepped it up and I got really mad and we got it. But I did make everyone. My friend was very thoughtful, and he's like, "I bet if maybe we got some of the people out of here, you'd be more comfortable." So the dancers and the musicians who were just kind of hanging out, having fun, they moved into the hallway so I could get the shot.
It does have a retro feel to it, that music video of yours. But
Yes, I wanted it to be 1940s inspired
mhm.
because those were the musicals I watched as a kid were like late 1940s, early 50s, like Gene Kelly, Judy Garland. So a lot of the hair inspiration and makeup in the movie is
and
in the music videos 40s.
and of course, I Love Lucy.
And of course, I Love Lucy. Yes.
So, well, that brings us to a nice segue. Do you prefer to listen to old music or new music? As in, let's say today is 2022. So, do you prefer to listen to music that is of the previous, that is not of the previous 10 years? That would be,
Oh, definitely, definitely. I mean, today it was Dolly Parton and Elton John,
oh,
um, but also like Mr. Wives, which is a more modern like indie pop band.
mhm,
That was yesterday. I listened to Mr. Wives so much yesterday.
mhm.
I definitely mix it up. I definitely don't just listen to new music.
Oh, yeah.
I think I have to make an effort to listen to music
Mhm.
that's new and really, look for what's coming out because it's easy to listen to albums I know I already love.
Of course. Yeah, that's the same for me. And I've read an article that says that, they measure Spotify streams and some of the and people these days tend to gravitate towards older music than newer ones. And yeah,
Really?
I imagine, I mean, the nostalgia certainly helps, but it does present some difficulty for the new artists, especially those who have
Definitely.
not been established yet.
Yes. I think something I was brainstorming about was that I need to do more covers because a lot of the musicians I really like are from YouTube and
Yeah,
they all started by doing covers
of course. Yeah.
all the time. So I think I just need to put some effort into recording more songs that people already know so that they can discover my music too.
Yeah, I know that a few of them do mashups too. Like they pick two pop songs with the same uh, BPM or key. So
That's
they,
a good idea.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Uh,
Do you have any favorites?
Mashups or songs?
or YouTubers in general?
Well, I started watching YouTube a long time ago. I know that Lindsay Sterling, the violinist, is still one
Hmm.
of my favorites. She's quite incredible. But
So good.
yeah, recently, because I've listened to too much podcast these days, I don't really have time for the
Yeah,
YouTube channels. And
understandable.
also because since some of the more popular ones tend to be, what's the word you use, toxic.
Yes.
Mhm.
Mm,
It is kind of free to join, so there's not much of a barrier of entry. The popular ones at
very
the
true.
top.
Very true.
Mhm.
You definitely need to filter and make sure the content you're taking in is making you feel good and motivated and not like some TV shows that make you feel, less or make you feel like gossiping or make you feel like you have to go
Definitely.
buy something to feel better.
Mhm. I understand that YouTube itself has a kids program, but what I've heard, the more I've
Hmm.
heard about it, the more I feel very, very uncomfortable towards it. I mean,
Totally.
which
I get
reminds me,
it.
I visited some of my younger cousins, uh, no, nephews and nieces, nephews and niece. One of my cousins had a son and a daughter. They were
Hmm.
pretty much little kids. I don't think they were 5 yet, but
Wow.
so presumably they wouldn't even know. They weren't introduced to basic math yet, but they know
Hmm.
what YouTube is because
Yeah.
it was on their television, smart TV every day. And I thought, well, that's kind of bizarre. And but then I remember certain certain kids, especially when you grow up in America, they know of companies like McDonald's and
Hmm.
Nike way before they learn how to spell even.
Definitely. Yes, they do. Definitely a capitalistic culture.
It is. Although it is a problem with monopolies, I say.
Uh-huh.
The
Yeah.
I mean it,
Speaking of McDonald's.
I mean it is uh, I mean I've read about the World Economic Forum, and I'm sorry if this is out of both of our depths at this point, but it's so I read about the World Economic Forum, and they have this convention that they set up at Davos, Switzerland, and
Okay.
it's all and their entire agenda is about how they can create a global policy of economics and governance for the world. And the participants and the people who set that agenda are all multinational corporations
Mm.
and governments, usually the biggest ones. I mean, I'm I'm not the I don't see myself as the Occupy Wall Street crowd where I think that all corporations are evil. I mean, they have some use to them, but the danger
Hmm.
to them is that they they stifle competition. I mean, you've had enough problems with Spotify, and I have my problems with Apple as a company, and chief among
Hmm.
them being that they do not allow space for the competitors to have a
Yes,
rise. You know.
definitely. Yes, and Spotify just it was just yesterday, I think they had uh their final hearing.
Mhm,
They were trying to lower the Spotify rate for songwriters again,
mhm.
which
Well,
is just insane.
oh, yeah.
But yeah, so there's a lot of songwriters right now trying to go up against Spotify, and it's so frustrating to watch because no matter how many big names pull off of Spotify,
Mhm,
they still have so many. It's something like 50,000 songs are uploaded every day to Spotify. So it's not like lack of content, but they also have the major record labels and just huge companies,
mhm.
working with them.
Yeah,
It's tricky.
yeah. I think that's why Taylor Swift had to pull out. I mean, she's re-recording her albums. Not a big fan of her, but it's one way to do it.
Yes, that was, well, I know she didn't release on Spotify because there was something. Um, but the reason for re-recording is because someone had bought her catalog.
Right.
So
Big
she no
Machine.
longer.
Big
Yes.
Machine.
Yeah. So she's a very smart businesswoman.
Yeah, yeah. You gotta hand it to her.
Hmm.
Speaking of Taylor Swift, I wonder what has country music in general lost its appeal to people like you and me, people who are under 35 and do not was not born and raised in Middle America. Like to most of it, country has ceased to become pop. I know we've mentioned Casey Musgraves. I mean, she started out as a country girl. She is
Yeah.
branching out to new things. So did Taylor Swift.
That's the
And
thing. Country is so limiting for
mhm,
female artists, especially.
yeah,
Yeah, I think just it's very much a club when it comes to the songwriters who are in the country world.
yeah,
And if you veer off from their expectations, so just the way Taylor moved, she had to move all the way into pop.
mhm,
She couldn't be country and pop. And Casey Musgraves couldn't be country because they wouldn't play her on the radio because she had different views and she had a little bit more groove in her music.
mhm,
So she's slowly been moving over to pop, but she's also done her own thing entirely, which
mhm.
has been really cool. I'd say country music still has some of the best songwriters out there, but it definitely has lost its appeal due to the culture, I would say, the culture behind it, which tends to be more, it's hard to say conservative because it's not exactly conservative, but it's more right wing, I would say. And it's associated with more, um, I don't know. There's a lot of songs about beer and trucks. I'll say that much. And most of the songs are men.
Sure.
So you'll hear a couple female singers if you put on country radio, if you listen for a couple hours.
Mhm.
But the majority of country musicians are all men also. So I feel like that just how limiting it already is kind of loses the young generation.
Mm, yeah. I know that there are some big names in country that are female. I know you've mentioned Dolly. There's Linda Ronstadt. Um,
Hmm.
and yeah, I mean there are a few of them. I just can't think of them right now, but
Yeah,
it,
those are more like the classic country. There's new country like Carrie Underwood,
yeah, sure. That's her
folks
too.
like that. But I think I personally definitely lean more into the Americana world,
Hmm.
which is more like Brandy Carlisle, where
Uh-huh.
you have more, simply more inclusivity when you go to the concert and you look at the audience.
Hmm. Or
Yeah.
perhaps the audience for most pop music tend to be of a younger age, and the typical audience for country uh, music country music tend to be older,
Yeah, much older.
and
Hmm.
the older ones tend to gravitate towards the older country records. I mean, the
Hmm.
Outlaws like
Yeah.
Cash and Willie Nelson.
Oh yeah.
And speaking of, the last time I've heard a Lil Nas X song, it was exactly that song that made him famous. And I
Hmm.
remember it was kicked out of the Billboard Country chart. I know it was
Hmm.
either the remix or the with Billy Ray Cyrus or the original one.
Yes.
And of course, I don't think he has the country people, the country music listeners would listen to him now, given that he's gone through a new direction, and they probably are more reserved towards the fact that he's openly gay.
Hmm. Definitely.
Hmm. Yeah. I wonder if you've seen the film Brokeback Mountain. This is a really weird segue, but it's it's a movie that appeals to both like audiences, right? The country people
Yeah, I've
and
I've heard a
gay
lot
crowd.
about this movie. I've only seen a few clips from
Mhm,
the internet and memes, so I haven't actually seen the whole film.
mhm.
I do need to see it. Someone said it was more on the sadder side, so I avoided it. As a lot of LGBTQ films and movies a lot of times they always end very sadly,
Yeah.
or dramatically, or there's a lot of drugs, or someone dies, or and it's only within the last couple of years that you're starting to see more positive films
Mhm.
in the queer film world. But no, I haven't seen it. But go on, and you don't have to worry about spoiling it. I know what happens.
I haven't actually seen it. I know the director. His name is Ang
Oh,
Lee.
okay.
Ang
Hmm.
Lee, who's made like a bunch of really wonderful films. I remember he's being Taiwanese. It's very. I remember it being a very nice movie. It was based on an Annie Proulx novel or short story,
Hmm.
Jake Gyllenhaal and Heath Ledger and everything. And I've read a review of it by this guy whose essays I really admire, Andrew Sullivan, and he comments on the more of the political implications of it. In that the in the more in the more middle America, it was advertised as a gay cowboy movie, and it basically angered everyone. But then
Oh
again, those
man.
who've seen it, both conservatives and liberals alike, said that they like it quite a bit.
Oh, okay. Interesting. I wonder if that.
Yeah.
Sorry, something fell in the kitchen. Um, I wonder. I wonder if that was like the way it was directed or just the story itself. Because it has like some major actors in it too, so I'm sure that made it more familiar for the audience.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was the direction, and it was a story that was made universal for everyone. And in some ways, I do like the fact that movies that feature, say, characters from the LGBTQ world
Hmm.
have become a lot more positive, because, well, it should be. I mean, the country has slowly, your country at least, mine, not so. The country has gradually become more accepting to them, and they've
Hmm.
and the LGBTQ world has basically, you know, come to embrace the American credo, and so that
Yeah.
works well for most everyone.
Yeah. I hope. Yeah. I think with time we'll be seeing a lot more and more,
Mhm.
more and more. But
So, yeah. So I would like to end on by asking you, how is your mental health at the moment?
thank you for asking. Um, it's pretty good. It's better than it has been. I had a rough winter, I would say. I really struggled with sleep, something I try to talk about online. And so I started seeing a therapist to
Yeah.
figure out why I couldn't fall asleep. And that's been really powerful and really helpful. And I would encourage anyone who's going through anything that in addition to just reaching out to your friends or talking to your family about what's stressing you out, what's making you sad, what the change in your health is. There's also a lot of free counselors online, so I would definitely encourage anyone who needs someone to talk to look online.
Oh yeah.
There are a ton of free resources.
I think one of the good things, I mean, good things, one of the few good things about COVID is that people are slowly becoming more open to actually talking about their mental challenges.
Hmm. Hmm.
And
Definitely.
it's the very, very stressful political climate certainly helps. I mean, we are all
Yeah.
feeling very mm,
Yes.
bogged down
Very.
by it. And I mean, some of us, I mean, react in very, very not so healthy way. Think January the 6th.
Yeah.
But
Hmm.
but I think we do need that. We do need to be a bit more open about the challenges, and we shouldn't keep
Absolutely.
it bottled up. And so
Yeah.
it will burst out in very, very not so healthy
Yes.
way.
Yes.
So it's a good sign. And
Hmm.
on that good note, Lucy and Lemaire, thank you very much for appearing on this program. You are amazing
My pleasure. You're
and
the
awesome.
best. It's always wonderful to talk to you, and I've loved getting to know you over the last year and a half since we first chatted.
Mhm.
And thanks for having me.
Likewise, take good care of yourself and have a good
You
day.
too.